So you've decided to post All Lives Matter on social media. Groundbreaking. The first week after the murder of George Floyd, everybody was together, everybody was in shock, and everybody was expressing their solidarities, and Instagram was full of black squares, and everybody was coming together. We were having a conversation about racism. But it's been a week now. People get tired of talking about race. It's tiring. So while the public outrage is quieting down, at least on this side of the world, the people who were never supportive of the cause to begin with feel more emboldened. And in the past 2 days, I've seen more All Lives Matter than in the past 2 weeks. And by the way, that also includes any sentence that begins with, yeah, what happened to George Floyd was terrible, but yeah, you lost me at but. So I've decided to document minute by minute how it feels for a person of color to be faced with that kind of denial of their reality, especially coming from people they know and sometimes even considered as their friends or partner. Minute 1. You probably didn't realize that All Lives Matter is racially charged. You don't know much about the American context, and you're probably not aware that All Lives Matter appeared as a pushback to Black Lives Matter in order to deny and divert the complaints against the mistreatment of black people. Maybe you lived in a cave for the past 15 years. It's an honest mistake. A good opportunity for you to learn. Minute 2. Did you guys see that? Did anybody else read that status? Is somebody gonna school them? Anyone I know? Anyone has something to say? Wanna jump in? Comment? Guess I'm gonna have to be the one schooling you. Minute 3. Right, let's get cracking. I'm looking for some memes on the internet, some cartoons, some pictures, some great analogies in order for you to understand the complexity of what we're talking about. And I feel invested by the responsibility to educate you, and everything will make sense to you, and you will realize the honest mistake that you made, and you would remove it and apologize and move on, and we'll get closer and everything will be great. Minute 4. I try to evaluate your privileges, anything that might have allowed you to be genuinely unaware of certain realities, your position in society, your wealth, your education, your ethnic background, and I try to find references that will speak to your experiences. I'm putting in the work. At this point, adrenaline is running through my veins. I'm full of hope because I used great arguments and I hope I convinced you, and it's all on my shoulders. I've got this big responsibility to change your mind on racism, and I think I can do it. I'm waiting for your answer. I can see you typing. I'm waiting, and... Minute 5. You say you're not racist. Then proceed to explain how you can't be racist because you're 1/64th black and you have black friends. And your ex is black. In fact, you say it's racist to call you racist. Never heard that one. Because you have been discriminated against too. For being white. Yes, reverse racism. Minute 6. I try to tell you that there is no such thing as reverse racism because oppression can only exist in a context of power imbalance. It is a result of the oppression of the dominant over the marginalized. Therefore, you can never compare the way that they both affect each other. It's like hitting a nail with the hammer and claim that actually, technically, the nail hits the hammer as much as the hammer hits the nail. It's just a question of perspective, man. What about reverse hammering? Minute 7. At this point, you're having a field day, countering my arguments with fallacious ones. Yeah, go tell a poor white person that they're privileged. We're not saying they had it easy. We're saying that the color of their skin didn't make it worse. What about the South African white farmers? It's white genocide. Look at the Asians. What about the people in Syria? As if you ever cared about Syria until it became a convenient point for you to try and shut the conversation down. What about Candace Owens? As if you had to pick that one voice against thousands upon thousands of prominent black voices, advocates, celebrities, activists, leaders screaming their despair from the top of their lungs for a week now. You picked that one? What about Ben Carson, the Hodge twins? What about Thomas Sowell? Stop picking the few exceptions that serve your narrative and ignore all the facts that the entire planet is finally waking up to just because acknowledging and letting go of your privilege is too threatening for your personal comfort. What about COVID-19? Problem solved? It affects black people at a much higher rate than white people, and yet we are willing to risk our lives going outside protesting. That should tell you something about how important it is to us. This is sports to you. This is both your exercise and your entertainment. It's making you feel great. The fact is, the fight is rigged. We're not on equal footing. You're here to win the argument. I'm here to win what? The right to live normally in society despite the fact that it was designed to make me inferior and has been doing so for 500 years? I could go on showing you videos of police brutality, of the difference of treatment between black people and white people by the justice systems all around the world. But at this point, I know you don't actually care about any of that. Looking at complex situations require challenging yourself too, and you will be upset by what you discover about yourself. We've all participated in this one way or another, but you're not willing to do that work. You are invested in not getting the point. You're calling me racist for making you feel uncomfortable about race. That's your privilege speaking. What is infuriating is that it's always the same arguments that have been used for decades and that we have already collectively proven to be moot points. There is a societal reckoning that has allowed the conversation to move forward, but those arguments, they're still being used because they act like a stick in the wheel of progress and understanding of what racism really is. And it's extremely tiring to feel like we have to start over again every time some random acquaintance over Facebook says all lives matter. And man, it's exhausting, because while you're doing it for the sake of the argument and seeing both sides, I'm vulnerable as fuck. I'm investing my entire life experience and my emotions into this. I don't have a choice. I don't even live in my country of origin, so I feel barely authorized to speak up. And yet you're making me do it, because I don't have a choice. I'm worried that I might not be able to find work anymore because I'm constantly banging on about racism and inequalities. And English is not even my mother tongue, so I have to put in extra work to make my message get through to you. That's not fair, man. So I go back and play in my head all the interactions that I've ever had with you. I compulsively try to find the signs that could have told me that you were a racist. Were you holding those beliefs all along? Or have you just recently been radicalized? Every time we had nice conversations, worked together, hung out together, were you genuinely nice to me? Or did you have at the back of your head the belief that my experience of racism wasn't valid? And did you always feel entitled to policing how I should talk about it and in what terms? Just wondering. Was that what you thought of me all along while I was thinking you were such a nice person? Was every conversation fake? Minute 8. I'm going through our list of mutual friends. Should I contact them? Ask them what they think about this? Next thing I know, I'm checking the recent posts of all of our mutual friends to try and figure out their position. Yeah, that's not very healthy, but neither is, being surrounded by racists. Why are they not being challenged? Where are the allies? That's their jobs, shouldn't be mine. It's not a game for me. I want this to be over. I've lost a little bit of faith in humanity. I lose a little bit every day. Now the good news is, there's been an outpour of support for the cause of Black Lives Matter. We're having a global conversation and the institutions are forced to change. But even among 50 messages of solidarity and support from friends and acquaintances, it only takes one all lives matter to make us feel like all of this has been in vain, to make us feel invalid, unequal. This is far from being over. And when the news cycle moves on to something more sensational, we will still be black. We will still be who we are, and we will still need you to listen, to understand, and to fight for change with us. And yeah, click, like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Black jazz.